Hadīth 1. Narrated Abdullāh bin Umar, that he had divorced his wife while she was menstruating during the lifetime of Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him. Umar bin al-Khattab asked Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, about that. Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, order him, your son, to take her back and keep her till she is clean, and then to wait till she gets her next period and becomes clean again, whereupon, if he wishes to keep her, he can do so, and if he wishes to divorce her he can divorce her before having sexual intercourse with her, and that is the prescribed period which Allah has fixed for the women meant to be divorced. Hadīth 2. Narrated Anas bin Sirin, Ibn Umar said, I divorced my wife while she was menstruating. Umar mentioned that to the Prophet. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, to my father, let your son take her back. I asked, Ibn Umar, is such a divorce counted, that is, as one legal divorce? Ibn Umar said, of course. Narrated Yunus bin Jubayr, Ibn Umar said, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said to Umar, order him, Ibn Umar, to take her back. I asked, is such a divorce counted, as one legal divorce? Ibn Umar said, what do you think if someone becomes helpless and foolish? Hadīth 3. Narrated Ibn Umar, divorcing my wife during her menses, was counted as one legal divorce. Hadīth 4. Narrated Al-Awzā'i, I asked Az-Zuhri, which of the wives of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, sought refuge with Allah from him? He said, I was told by Urwa that Aisha said, when the daughter of Al-Jawn was brought to Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, as his bride, and he went near her, she said, I seek refuge with Allah from you. He said, you have sought refuge with the Great, return to your family. Hadīth 5. Narrated Abu Usaid, we went out with the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, to a garden called Ash-Shiqaq, till we reached two walls between which we sat down. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, sit here, and went in, the garden. The Jawniyya, a lady from Bani Jawn, had been brought and lodged in a house in a date palm garden in the home of Umaymah bint Nu'man bin Shurahil, and her wet nurse was with her. When the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, entered upon her, he said to her, give me yourself, in marriage, as a gift. She said, can a princess give herself in marriage to an ordinary man? The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, raised his hand to pat her so that she might become tranquil. She said, I seek refuge with Allah from you. He said, you have sought refuge with one who gives refuge. Then the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, came out to us and said, O Abu Usaid, give her 2 white linen dresses to wear and let her go back to her family. Hadīth 6. Narrated Sahih and Abu Usaid, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, married Umaymah bint Shurahil, and when she was brought to him, he stretched his hand towards her. It seemed that she disliked that, whereupon the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, ordered Abu Usaid to prepare her and to provide her with 2 white linen dresses. Hadīth 7. Narrated Sahal bin Sa'd, similarly as above. Hadīth 8. Narrated Abi Ghalab Yunus bin Jubayr, I asked Ibn Umar, what is said regarding a man who divorces his wife during her period? He said, do you know Ibn Umar? Ibn Umar divorced his wife while she was menstruating. Umar then went to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and mentioned that to him. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, ordered him to take her back, and when she became clean, he could divorce her if he wanted. I asked, Ibn Umar, was that divorce counted as one legal divorce? He said, if one becomes helpless and foolish, will he be excused? Of course not. Hadīth 9. Narrated Sahal bin Sa'd as-Sa'idi, Uwaymir al-Ajlani came to Asim bin Adi al-Ansari and asked, O Asim, tell me, if a man sees his wife with another man, should he kill him, whereupon you would kill him in qisas, or what should he do? Oh Asim! Please ask Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, about that. Asim asked Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, about that. Allah's Apostle disliked that question and considered it disgraceful. What Asim heard from Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, was hard on him. When he returned to his family, Uwaymir came to him and said, O Asim! What did Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, say to you? Asim said, You never bring me any good. Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, disliked to hear the problem which I asked him about. Uwaymir said, By Allah, I will not leave the matter till I ask him about it. So Uwaymir proceeded till he came to Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, who was in the midst of the people and said, O Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him. If a man finds with his wife another man, should he kill him, whereupon you would kill him, in qisas, or otherwise, what should he do? Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, Allah has revealed something concerning the question of you and your wife. Go and bring her here. So they both carried out the judgment of Leon, while I was present among the people, as a witness. When both of them had finished, Uwaymir said, O Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him. If I should now keep my wife with me, then I have told a lie. Then he pronounced his decision to divorce her thrice before Allah's Apostle ordered him to do so. Ibn Shihab said, that was the tradition for all those who are involved in a case of Leon. Hadīth 10. Narrated Aisha, the wife of Rifa' al-Qurazi came to Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, and said, O Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him. Rifa' divorced me irrevocably. After him, I married Abdurrahman bin Az-Zubayr al-Qurazi who proved to be impotent. Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said to her, Perhaps you want to return to Rifa'? Nay, you cannot return to Rifa' until you and Abdurrahman consummate your marriage. Hadīth 11. Narrated Aisha, a man divorced his wife thrice, by expressing his decision to divorce her thrice, then she married another man who also divorced her. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was asked if she could legally marry the first husband, or not. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, replied, No, she cannot marry the first husband unless the second husband consummates his marriage with her, just as the first husband had done. Hadīth 12. Narrated Aisha, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, gave us the option, to remain with him or to be divorced, and we selected Allah and His Apostle. So, giving us that option was not regarded as divorce. Hadīth 13. Narrated Masruq, I asked Aisha about the option. She said, The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, gave us the option. Do you think that option was considered as a divorce? I said, It matters little to me if I give my wife the option once or 100 times after she has chosen me. Hadīth 14. Nafi said, when Ibn Umar was asked about a person who had given 3 divorces, he said, Would that you gave 1 or 2 divorces, for the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, ordered me to do so. If you give 3 divorces then she cannot be lawful for you until she has married another husband, and is divorced by him. Hadīth 15. Narrated Aisha, a man divorced his wife and she married another man who proved to be impotent and divorced her. She could not get her satisfaction from him, and after a while he divorced her. Then she came to the Prophet and said, O Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him. My first husband divorced me and then I married another man who entered upon me to consummate his marriage, but he proved to be impotent and did not approach me except once, during which he benefited nothing from me. Can I remarry my first husband in this case? Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, It is unlawful to marry your first husband till the other husband consummates his marriage with you. Hadīth 16. Narrated Sa'id bin Jubayr, that he heard Ibn Abbas saying, if a man makes his wife unlawful for him, it does not mean that she is divorced. He added, indeed in the Messenger of Allah, you have a good example to follow. Hadīth 17. Narrated Ubayd bin Umar, I heard Aisha saying, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, used to stay for a long while with Zainab bint Jahash and drink honey at her house. So Hafsa and I decided that if the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, came to any one of us, she should say to him, I detect the smell of magafir, a nasty-smelling gum, in you. Have you eaten magafir? So the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, visited one of them and she said to him similarly. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, never mind, I have taken some honey at the house of Zainab bint Jahash, but I shall never drink of it any more. So there was revealed, O Prophet, why do you ban, for you, that which Allah has made lawful for you? If you too, wives of Prophet, turn in repentance to Allah, Surah 66, Ayat 1-4, addressing Aisha and Hafsa. When the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, disclosed a matter in confidence to some of his wives, Surah 66, Ayah 3, namely his saying, but I have taken some honey. Hadīth 18. Narrated Aisha, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, was fond of honey and sweet edible things and, it was his habit, that after finishing the Asr prayer, he would visit his wives and stay with one of them at that time. Once he went to Hafsa, the daughter of Umar, and stayed with her more than usual. I got jealous and asked the reason for that. I was told that a lady of her folk had given her a skin filled with honey as a present, and that she made a syrup from it and gave it to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, to drink, and that was the reason for the delay. I said, by Allah we will play a trick on him, to prevent him from doing so. So I said to Saudah bint Zam'a, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, will approach you, and when he comes near you, say, have you taken magafir, a bad-smelling gum? He will say, no. Then say to him, then what is this bad smell which I smell from you? He will say to you, Hafsa made me drink honey syrup. Then say, perhaps the bees of that honey had sucked the juice of the tree of al-Urfut. I shall also say the same. O you, Safiyyah, say the same. Later Saudah said, by Allah, as soon as he, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, stood at the door, I was about to say to him what you had ordered me to say because I was afraid of you. So when the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, came near Saudah, she said to him, O Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him. Have you taken magafir? He said, no. She said, then what is this bad smell which I detect on you? He said, Hafsa made me drink honey syrup. She said, perhaps its bees had sucked the juice of al-Urfut tree. When he came to me, I also said the same, and when he went to Safiyyah, she also said the same. And when the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, again went to Hafsa, she said, O Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him. Shall I give you more of that drink? He said, I am not in need of it. Saudah said, by Allah, we deprived him of it. I said to her, keep quiet. Hadīth 19. Narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, Allah has forgiven my followers the evil thoughts that occur to their minds, as long as such thoughts are not put into action or uttered. And Qatada said, if someone divorces his wife just in his mind, such an unuttered divorce has no effect. Hadīth 20. Narrated Jabir, a man from the tribe of Bani Aslam came to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, while he was in the mosque and said, I have committed illegal sexual intercourse. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, turned his face to the other side. The man turned towards the side towards which the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, had turned his face, and gave 4 witnesses against himself. On that, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, called him and said, Are you insane? He added, Are you married? The man said, Yes. On that, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, ordered him to be stoned to the death in the Musalla, a praying place. When the stones hit him with their sharp edges, he fled, but he was caught at Al-Harra and then killed. Hadith 21. Narrated Abu Hurairah, a man from Bani Aslam came to Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, while he was in the mosque and called, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, saying, O Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him. I have committed illegal sexual intercourse. On that, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, turned his face from him to the other side, whereupon the man moved to the side towards which the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, had turned his face, and said, O Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him. I have committed illegal sexual intercourse. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, turned his face, from him, to the other side whereupon the man moved to the side towards which the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, had turned his face, and repeated his statement. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, turned his face, from him, to the other side again. The man moved again, and repeated his statement, for the fourth time. So when the man had given witness 4 times against himself, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, called him and said, Are you insane? He replied, No. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, then said, to his companions, Go and stone him to death. The man was a married one. Jabir bin Abdullāh al-Ansari said, I was one of those who stoned him. We stoned him at the Musalla, Eid praying place, in Medina. When the stones hit him with their sharp edges, he fled, but we caught him at Al-Harra and stoned him till he died. Hadith 22. Narrated Ibn Abbas, the wife of Thabit bin Qais came to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and said, O Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him. I do not blame Thabit for defects in his character or his religion, but I, being a Muslim, dislike to behave in un-Islamic manner, if I remain with him. On that, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, to her, Will you give back the garden which your husband has given you, as mahr? She said, Yes. Then the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said to Thabit, O Thabit, accept your garden, and divorce her once. Hadith 23. Narrated Ikrimah, the sister of Abdullāh bin Ubayy narrated, the above narration, with the addition that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said to Thabit's wife, Will you return his garden? She said, Yes, and returned it, and, then, the Prophet ordered Thabit to divorce her. Hadith 24. Narrated Ibn Abbas, the wife of Thabit bin Qais came to Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, and said, O Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him. I do not blame Thabit for any defects in his character or his religion, but I cannot endure to live with him. On that, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, Will you return his garden to him? She said, Yes. Hadith 25. Narrated Ibn Abbas, the wife of Thabit bin Qais bin Shammas came to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and said, O Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him. I do not blame Thabit for any defects in his character or his religion, but I am afraid that I, being a Muslim, may become unthankful for Allah's blessings. On that, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, to her, Will you return his garden to him? She said, Yes. So she returned his garden to him, and the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, told him to divorce her. Hadith 26. Narrated Ikrimah, that Jamila. Then he related the whole hadith, as above. Hadith 27. Narrated Al-Miswar bin Makramah az-Zuhri, I heard the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, saying, Banu al-Mughira have asked my leave to let Ali marry their daughter, but I give no leave to this effect. Hadith 28. Narrated Aisha, the wife of the Prophet, 3 traditions were established concerning situations in which Barira was involved. When she was manumitted, she was given the option to keep her husband or leave him. Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "The walā is for the one who manumits." Once Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, entered the house while some meat was being cooked in a pot, but only bread and some soup of the house were placed before him. He said, "Don't I see the pot containing meat?" They said, "Yes, but that meat was given to Barira in charity, by someone, and you do not eat what is given in charity." The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "That meat is alms for her, but for us it is a present." Hadīth 29. Narrated Ibn Abbas, I saw him as a slave, namely, Barira's husband. Hadīth 30. Narrated Ibn Abbas, that was Mughith, the slave of Bani so-and-so, that is, Barira's husband, as if I am now looking at him following her, Barira, along the streets of Medina. Hadīth 31. Narrated Ibn Abbas, Barira's husband was a black slave called Mughith, the slave of Bani so-and-so, as if I am seeing him now, walking behind her along the streets of Medina. Hadīth 32. Narrated Ibn Abbas, Barira's husband was a slave called Mughith, as if I am seeing him now, going behind Barira and weeping with his tears flowing down his beard. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said to Abbas, "O Abbas! Are you not astonished at the love of Mughith for Barira and the hatred of Barira for Mughith?" The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, then said to Barira, "Why don't you return to him?" She said, "O Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him. Do you order me to do so?" He said, "No, I only intercede for him." She said, "I am not in need of him." Hadīth 33. Narrated Al-Aswad, Aisha intended to buy Barira, but her masters stipulated that her walā would be for them. Aisha mentioned that to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, who said, to Aisha, "Buy and manumit her, for the walā is for the one who manumits." Once some meat was brought to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and was said, "This meat was given in charity to Barira." The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "It is an object of charity for Barira and a gift for us." Narrated Adam, Shu'bah related the same hadith and added, Barira was given the option regarding her husband. Hadīth 34. Narrated Nafi, whenever Ibn Umar was asked about marrying a Christian lady or a Jewess, he would say, Allah has made it unlawful for the believers to marry ladies who ascribe partners in worship to Allah, and I do not know of a greater thing, as regards to ascribing partners in worship etc., to Allah, than that a lady should say that Jesus is her Lord although he is just one of Allah's slaves. Hadīth 35. Narrated Ibn Abbas, the pagans were of 2 kinds as regards their relationship to the Prophet and the believers. Some of them were those with whom the Prophet was at war and used to fight against, and they used to fight him. The others were those with whom the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, made a treaty, and neither did the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, fight them, nor did they fight him. If a lady from the first group of pagans emigrated towards the Muslims, her hand would not be asked in marriage unless she got the menses and then became clean. When she became clean, it would be lawful for her to get married, and if her husband emigrated too before she got married, then she would be returned to him. If any slave or female slave emigrated from them to the Muslims, then they would be considered free persons, not slaves, and they would have the same rights as given to other emigrants. The narrator then mentioned about the pagans involved with the Muslims in a treaty, the same as occurs in Mujahid's narration. If a male slave or a female slave emigrated from such pagans as had made a treaty with the Muslims, they would not be returned, but their prices would be paid, to the pagans. Hadīth 36. Narrated Ibn Abbas, Qarībah, the daughter of Abi Umayyah, was the wife of Umar bin al-Khattab. Umar divorced her and then Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan married her. Similarly, al-Hakam, the daughter of Abi Sufyan, was the wife of Iyad bin Gunm al-Fihri. He divorced her and then Abdullāh bin Uthman at-Thaqafi married her. Hadīth 37. Narrated Aisha, the wife of the Prophet, when believing women came to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, as emigrants, he used to test them in accordance with the order of Allah, O you who believe. When believing women come to you as emigrants, examine them. Surah 60, Ayah 10. So if any one of those believing women accepted the above-mentioned conditions, she accepted the conditions of faith. When they agreed on those conditions and confessed that with their tongues, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, would say to them, Go, I have accepted your oath of allegiance, for Islam. By Allah, and the hand of Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, never touched the hand of any woman, but he only used to take their pledge of allegiance orally. By Allah, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, did not take the pledge of allegiance of the women except in accordance with what Allah had ordered him. When he accepted their pledge of allegiance he would say to them, I have accepted your oath of allegiance. Hadīth 38. Narrated Anas bin Malik, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, took an oath that he would abstain from his wives, and at that time his leg had been sprained, dislocated. So he stayed in the mushraba, an attic room, of his for 29 days. Then he came down, and they, the people, said, O Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him. You took an oath to abstain from your wives for 1 month. He said, the month is of 29 days. Hadīth 39. Narrated Nafi, Ibn Umar used to say about the Illah which Allah defined, in the Holy Book, if the period of Illah expires, then the husband is either to retain his wife in a handsome manner or to divorce her as Allah has ordered. Hadīth 40. Ibn Umar added, when the period of 4 months has expired, the husband should be put in prison so that he should divorce his wife, but the divorce does not occur unless the husband himself declares it. This has been mentioned by Uthman, Ali, Abu ad-Darda, Aisha and 12 other companions of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. Hadīth 41. Narrated Yazid, the Mullah of Munba'ith, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was asked regarding the case of a lost sheep. He said, you should take it, because it is for you, or for your brother, or for the wolf. Then he was asked about a lost camel. He got angry and his face became red and he said, to the questioner, you have nothing to do with it, it has its feet and its water container with it, it can go on drinking water and eating trees till its owner meets it. And then the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was asked about a lukata, money found by somebody. He said, remember and recognize its tying material and its container, and make public announcement about it for 1 year. If somebody comes and identifies it, then give it to him, otherwise add it to your property. Hadīth 42. Narrated Ibn Abbas, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, performed the tawaf, around the Kaaba, while riding his camel, and every time he reached the corner, of the black stone, he pointed at it with his hand and said, Allahu Akbar. Zainab said, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, an opening has been made in the wall of Gog and Magog like this and this, forming the number 90, with his thumb and index finger. Hadīth 43. Narrated Abu Hurairah, Abul Qasim, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, there is an hour, or a moment, of particular significance on Friday. If it happens that a Muslim is offering a prayer and invoking Allah for some good at that very moment, Allah will grant him his request. The sub-narrator placed the top of his finger on the palm of the other hand between the middle finger and the little one. Hadīth 44. Narrated Anas bin Malik, during the lifetime of Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, a Jew attacked a girl and took some silver ornaments she was wearing and crushed her head. Her relative brought her to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, while she was in her last breaths, and she was unable to speak. Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, asked her, who has hit you? so and so, mentioning somebody other than her murderer. She moved her head, indicating denial. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, mentioned another person other than the murderer, and she again moved her head indicating denial. Then he asked, was it so and so, mentioning the name of her killer. She nodded, agreeing. Then Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, ordered that the head of that Jew be crushed between two stones. Hadīth 45. Narrated Ibn Umar, I heard the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, saying, afflictions will emerge from here, pointing towards the east. Hadīth 46. Narrated Abdullāh bin Abi Awfa, we were with Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, on a journey, and when the sun set, he said to a man, get down and prepare a drink of sawiq for me. The man said, O Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him. Will you wait till it is evening? Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, again said, get down and prepare a drink of sawiq. The man said, O Allah's Apostle, will you wait till it is evening, for it is still daytime? The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, again said, get down and prepare a drink of sawiq. So the third time the man got down and prepared a drink of sawiq for him. Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, drank thereof and pointed with his hand towards the east, saying, when you see the night falling from this side, then a fasting person should break his fast. Hadīth 47. Narrated Abdullāh bin Mas'ud, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, the call, or the adhan, of Bilal should not stop you from taking the suhoor meals, for Bilal calls, or pronounces the adhan, so that the one who is offering the night prayer should take a rest, and he does not indicate the daybreak or dawn. The narrator, Yazid, described how dawn breaks, by stretching out his hands and then separating them wide apart. Hadīth 48. Narrated Abu Hurairah, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, the example of a miser and a generous person is like that of two persons wearing iron cloaks from the breast up to the neck. When the generous person spends, the iron cloak enlarges and spreads over his skin so much so that it covers his fingertips and obliterates his tracks. As for the miser, as soon as he thinks of spending, every ring of the iron cloak sticks to its place, against his body, and he tries to expand it, but it does not expand. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, pointed with his hand towards his throat. Hadīth 49. Narrated Anas bin Malik, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, shall I tell you of the best families among the Ansar? They, the people, said, yes, O Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, the best are Banu an-Najjar, and after them are Banu Abdul Ashhal, and after them are Banu al-Harith bin al-Khazraj, and after them are Banu Sa'dah. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, then moved his hand by closing his fingers and then opening them like one throwing something, and then said, anyhow, there is good in all the families of the Ansar. Hadīth 50. Narrated Sahal bin Sa'd as-Sa'idi, a companion of Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, holding out his middle and index fingers, said, my advent and the hours are like this, or like these, namely, the period between his era and the hour is like the distance between those two fingers, that is, very short. Hadīth 51. Narrated Ibn Umar, the Prophet, holding out his 10 fingers thrice, said, the month is thus and thus and thus, namely 30 days. Then, holding out his 10 fingers twice and then 9 fingers, he said, it may be thus and thus and thus, namely 29 days. He meant once 30 days and once 29 days. Hadīth 52. Narrated Abu Mas'ud, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, pointed with his hand towards Yemen and said twice, faith is there, and then pointed towards the east, and said, verily, sternness and mercilessness are the qualities of those who are busy with their camels and pay no attention to their religion, where the two sides of the head of Satan will appear, namely, the the tribes of Rabi'ah and Mudar. Hadīth 53. Narrated Sahih, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, I and the one who looks after an orphan will be like this in paradise, showing his middle and index fingers and separating them.